Hi, welcome to This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup, I'm editor MBTV. I have with me Prabhakar Sinha, he's the real estate editor of the Times of India, and two very, very special guests, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, National President, NAREDCO, and Mr. Satish Magar, National President, CREDAI. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. We're talking about what the finance minister has offered in a series of economic stimuli, and whether this will at all impact the real estate industry. What has been given, is it enough, and what more could have been done, or do you expect from the ministry? Mr. Magar, let me start with you. 5 packages have been rolled out. Marginally, there are many things that were there given to the real estate industry, but I think in real estate industry is expecting a lot more. Would you like to comment on what has been given and what needs to be done?
Yeah, we were expecting a lot more because what we thought, and as a businessman thinking, I will not go into the economic figures because these are for the experts to talk about. But what we thought that to bring the objective of the stimulus would be to bring in liquidity, to bring in investment, and to create demand. The government did make an effort in getting in liquidity. They did come out with a lot of solutions like the reverse repo rate, the IRR, all these things did come in. But unfortunately, when it missed, the race was the last mile funding. The banks withhold. I mean, the reverse repo rate was reduced, but still money is parked with RBI and not given out for business. So I think what we need is very clear guidelines for the banks to fund, because liquidity crisis is the biggest crisis we are facing. We need liquidity, 20%, 30% of the working capital levels just to start with. And also we need the moratorium period. So that extension has not yet come in, nor the liquidity. The second investments they are working on, they are coming out with various packages to kickstart the various industries. But what I will want to ask, and what we missed the bus, was the demand creation. How can you change the sentiment of the buyer in India without giving him an incentive, without reducing the GST level, without giving the input tax credit, without giving him, reduced interest rates? Because if there is so much of liquidity in the banks, which they can stock up in the RBI, why can't they reduce the interest rates and enthuse the buyer to come forward? Why can't we do away for time being period with clauses like 43CA? Why don't we give him more so he should feel good to come out and buy? Because in these days when everyone is locked down, unless and until people feel good to come out and buy, it's going to be difficult for people to come out and buy. And I think that is where we missed. Nothing was there on the demand creation side. Liquidity, yes, but banks have still held on the strings in their hands. Investments in other industries is going to take time. We are not going to focus more on that. But for the revival part, where the demand creation needs to be created, I think the government still needs to do much more than what it has done.
Right. Mr. Hiranandani, we've seen that there has been a huge crisis of liquidity. The industry was struggling anyway, and this was like a double whammy. What can the government do? What has the government done? You also represent ASSOCHAM, and the MSME sector did get a lot of benefits. Why not the real estate sector?
I think somehow or the other, I don't want to reiterate what Mr. Satish Magar said, but in reality, I have to. In the sense that we have not only missed the bus, we have completely missed it. In the sense that I think the critical factor is, if you don't have the paradigm change in terms of how the government is going to take care of the economy, the real estate sector certainly cannot get up. In the last 18 to 24 months, the real estate sector was anyway reeling post demonetization, RERA, GST, IBC, and of course, finally the ILFS disaster which took place. All these combined to create a recessionary mode in the industry. Now, we were hardly able to get a little bit back when this COVID crisis has hit us. So when we really get into the crisis of this kind, and you're supposed to be 7% of the GDP of India, You're supposed to be employing 15% of the employment position of the people of India. You expected, there were some expectations, as Mr. Magar very mildly put it, that there was some expectation that they would do better. Now, the question is not going to do better. It's a question is, are they going to really collapse, or are they going to be resuscitated in the situation that you are? So I think real estate has three problems. A, the total lack of liquidity in the system. Because your requirement in RERA, the liquidity required was anyway 3x because of the requirement of escrow, because of the delay of sales, added with GST, where people would postpone buying because they said we won't pay GST at all, because at the time of the occupation certificate, there is no GST with them. So A, there was a postponement of buying even in natural circumstances in it. So you required both capital and credit. Capital could be got, hopefully, which was also not easy to get, but credit was just not available. So real estate really reeled with it. And when ILFS took a problem, the NBFCs who were giving money had a huge problem. Let's say a company, NBFC, had given 50 crores to a real estate company, had sanctioned 50 crores, but given 10 crores. When the next installment of 10 crores came, they had no money to give it. So then we could neither go to another NBFC by virtue of the fact that the mortgage which was with the earlier NBFCs, and second, we couldn't get the installment from the current NBFC. So this was a catch-22 situation, and nobody really bailed us out of that situation. Then when we went back to the banks and financial institutions, they said, no, at this point of time, the demand is not sufficient. So when we are talking about a resuscitating of demand, the idea basically is not only to save the real estate developers, but to actually save the economy. Because the economy has a multiplier effect in real estate. We have 269 industries that we have counted as being consequential damage to them if real estate does not pick up. So whether it is steel, whether it is cement, whether it is bricks, whether it is plastic, whether it is cables, you name it, electric fittings, air conditioning, lifts, whatnot, and also the labor. So now you have a multiplier negative effect that has been created by having a lack of demand. Now, the second part of it is, one was the liquidity, second was the lack of demand. Now, when the lack of demand is to be addressed, we have gone through whatever the Honorable Finance Minister has given, and we don't see any much in terms of a demand creation package. And that's the serious gap that I see in it. Maybe she could have put in, for example, as we have suggested in ASSOCHAM, there should be a 50% reduction of GST for a period of 6 months to instigate demand. Now, anyway, your collection has fallen from 1,18,000 crores per month to 23,000 crores. So in reality, you're not giving up much whatsoever in terms of GST if you reduce it. So we had suggested very strongly that if you really bring this down in terms of a 50% cut in GST, of course, many people have suggested a 100% cut in GST also in order to instigate demand at the first instance, and that should be what it is. But we suggested 50% demand cut in GST in order to instigate demand. What would have happened? It would have not only instigated real estate, but it would have instigated all the other lines of business also. So whether it is hotels, whether it is food, whether it is cars, whether it is whatever, newspapers, advertising material, you name it, and it would be there. So we think that the biggest gap which remains today, as Mr. Magar correctly put it, is lack of demand. So liquidity, number one, lack of demand, number two, is very clearly addressed. And the fact that the stimulus package doesn't act as a stimulus package because it is very good package. So I can't even criticize that the package is not good because it lays down a good policy measures in so many lines of business that we have welcomed it all. Of course, exceptions prove the rule. And as you said correctly, MSMEs and NBFCs have definitely had a positive dole out from the finance minister. And we are extremely grateful that at least this segmentation funding has been done with a credit guarantee which is given by the brands. The next two parts which remain, I think, to be addressed are left with the Reserve Bank of India, and one of them being a one-time rollover of all the limits that exist today. Look, in 2008, when the crisis was 10% of what it is today, they did a one-time rollover because the World Bank told them at that time. This time the World Bank hasn't told anybody because all the countries in the world have already done it. So they have not told it to us. So we need to do that one-time rollover so that all the companies, all the developers, and I'm not again talking only about the developers, I am talking about developers, but I'm not only talking about the developers, that we need to do it. And now it makes good sense because there is no foreclosure of insolvency under the NCLT Act. So what do the banks do? They declare an NPA and they can't go to recover the money. So they are in a catch-22 situation. Now that 1 year has been given, you might as well give a rollover, which is minimum 1 year. And depending on the type of projects, you can give 1, 2, 3 years, depending on the size and tenure of the project. Something which you did it before, why can't you do it today? The third and the last part, which I want to mention and flag off today, is the fact that the RBI governor said correctly, I have given so much liquidity. Unfortunately, that liquidity is not with anybody else but themselves. So they gave liquidity to the banks, which is today, on the last checking up of the records, was 8.5 lakh crores. Great amount of money. Wonderful to hear that you have created liquidity. But where is the liquidity? Back with the Reserve Bank. So all the banks and financial institutions, instead of giving Mr. Magar, all the real estate developers and others, they've given it back to the Reserve Bank of India in reverse repo at 3.75%. Which means what? Which means that the banks do not have the confidence to lend. Hence, you needed to create some sort of incentive, like you have done in the case of SMEs, to also do it for real estate, to do it for hotels, to do it for aviation, to do for all the sectors which are there. So that this money, which is now sterile, I'm using the word very correctly, sterile money, you can't call it liquid. It is sterile. It is lying back with the RBI. So what you really need to do is to see to it that reverse repo is made zero so that the banks will not get even 3.75% interest, and incentive necessary to say, give the similar credit guarantees for lending of all the banks for the next 3 months. So 8.5 lakh crores could have gone straight to all the lending that could be done. Okay, don't give 100% guarantee because then the banks don't take up any responsibility. Let's make 60%, 70% guarantee could be given so that if there is a loss, the banks also will have to take up 30, 40, 50% of the security so that it's not, lent like they do sometimes without applying their mind. So I think to do. So if we did these three things, my view is that 19.9% which World Bank is talking about would become 4% by March of next year. The GDP growth will actually spurt to go back. So what we are lacking is a triple negative, not only for real estate, but the entire economy that I see today. So while I cannot criticize the finance minister for the good things that she has said, she's talked about agriculture, she's talked about civil aviation, she's talked about so many positive stories that really I think I cannot, I'm forgetting how many there are. There are so many of the good things which she has said. And I think I really salute her that she's gathered all this reform process from all the departments that are there, including atomic energy and things like that, and ISRO, that we really have that point, that I'm proud of her, that, things which the government could have done in normal times, they've not done, and they're doing it today. Thank God. Thank you very much for doing what you are doing today. We certainly welcome it. So let me say, I'm not criticizing the Prime Minister's, Finance Minister's rollout of 5 days. I'm welcoming it. So when people ask me, Niranjan, ye kya laga hai? you're welcoming it on one side, and on the other side, you're saying you have not done it. I said, how can I not welcome a good thing? So when Mr. Sinha will criticize that, Niranjan, you keep only talking good things about what the finance minister said. The answer is, yes, she has said good thing. How can I not compliment something which the lady has said good? So I welcome it. But is it enough to turn the economy? Is it enough to turn the real estate as a business? The answer is no. And that is the problem. So we are very happy with what she's done, not happy because it's not enough.
Mr. Magar, when we talk about that one-time rollover, today you haven't got it. Without that one-time rollover, with the IBC already in abeyance for a year, how is this industry poised to move forward? And what are you going to see? A lot of NPAs?
Yeah, if it doesn't happen, the rollover or the moratorium period, whatever they say, or restructuring in whatever language they say, if it doesn't happen for a period of 1 year, I think we are going to see bloodbath. A lot of companies are, a lot of firms, a lot of institutes, a lot of developers are going to come in serious problem because there is absolutely total lockdown for 60 days. There's nothing happening. There's no customer on site, no payment coming in. The payables are still there. On one side, we want to start work because we have to keep the labor intact. We have to roll the whole economy forward. There are so many industries depending upon it. And when there's no income, there's only expenditure and no liquidity to pay off the banks. I think we are just heading for a bloodbath. The Reserve Bank of India and the Finance Minister, come what may be, has to come out and do something. Just taking forward from what Mr. Hirandani said some time back, that the Finance Minister has done very well. She has done well for the agri sector, the SMEC sector. But for us, it is like a plate full in front of us with hands tied, which we cannot eat. So we really need something because this is one industry which can get the wheels moving. The labor problem, the dependent industries, the whole economy will start moving if real estate moves. I think they have to seriously look at it, which they have not done so far.
Right. Prabhakar, please feel free to step in and ask.
I just want to understand one thing, sir, that real estate industry is asking for all of this. And I believe whatever this stimulus package is, this should have been very good. Even this were announced before the COVID. But now as it is what it is today, now tell me, sir, how will you go forward? Because you have no choice. And it seems that government is convinced that you people can do without rollover and things like that. So are you planning to create demand somehow? Because that is the main issue today, because buyers are not there. So will you cut the price? Will you do something to lure the customer? What will you do? That is the key today, sir.
Mr. Sinha, let me share with you. There is nothing that we cannot do. The question is, what is the time frame within which you can do it? So it's like saying like this, that I can go to Bihar, but I'll have to walk over it and I have to walk the 1100 kilometers. Is it that you cannot do it? The answer is you can do it. But if I sat in a plane or if I sat in a train, I would reach there in a reasonable time and things would be reasonable for everybody to do. But otherwise, we would be like the real estate will be like the migrant labor trying to do whatever they want to do in the industry. Obviously, I mean, if you're helpless, what can you do? I just saw a picture of a migrant worker on TV going and eating a dead dog because he was not getting a food. I mean, there is nothing that a human being will not do in desperation. So that's not the answer. The answer is, what can you do reasonably with the availability of resources that are there? Let me explain, sir. If tomorrow you have a computer on which you can send to your newspaper your article which you are going to write and do it, and then somebody else tells you, I'm going to throw away your computer and I'm going to throw away all the enabling factors which are there, can you still do a printing press? The answer is yes. In the good old days, the printing press worked, wherein you put and collated all those things physically and created the press. So yes, the real estate can do it, but at what cost? At what failure? And when are you going to be able to achieve it? So the answer is not about, sir, can the real estate do it? The answer is yes, it can. How long will it take? Mr. Magar will tell you in 5 years. I will tell you 6 years. Somebody else who's optimistic will say 3 years. So the question is not of that. Number two, there is a expectation of people who have bought apartments, of people who have limited resources, of people who have aspiration, who want flat, who want a house, who want a home, and who want a shelter. You have a minimum need that you are trying to fulfill by this industry. So it's nothing that you cannot do with it. It's very simple, sir. 50% of my people in Mumbai live in jhopatpattis. They will continue to live in jhopatpattis. Don't do anything. If you don't do anything for the slums of Mumbai and you have the Dharavi, you continue it for another 50 years. How does it make a difference? Still poor people will continue it. The idea is you have the innate capability of doing it and you don't do it. That is the worry. So when you have the implements for us to be able to handle it, and you don't use those implementation for the purposes of the industry, business, or the people of India, that is the challenge, sir. So I'm not saying that the industry cannot manage it, but how long and at what cost? How many failures? How many people will lose money? How many people will lose jobs? So, and is it necessary to do so? So the answer is no. So that's where we feel that the government, the Reserve Bank of India, the banking system is an enabler. They can definitely do it. And once they do it, what is it? We are asking them to do what you did in 2008. Is there any big secret? Copy paste what you did in 2008 October. Just copy paste that order and put it again today. Just change the date and put it of today's date. And only preamble, there you said the global financial crisis. This time you write COVID-19 situation. And you can do that. So what's the big thing about the issue of a one-time rollover? Not a very big thing to do. You can still do it. There's nothing, there's no big story about it. You know, I mean, we are not asking them to go to the moon or something to do it. Here it's available to you and you've done it previously. So that's the issue. The second part of it, which we said, is more challenging. The second suggestion is challenging, which is when we are saying that you need to cut GST to create demand. I'm not saying you do that. Think of something else. You may be cleverer than me, which you are. You have the whole government machinery to tell you what to be done. Create a position wherein you create somewhere where demand is created. Don't do what I'm suggesting. I'm very happy. I don't want to be proved right. I'm not interested to be proved right. I'm interested to see that the economy moves. So if demand should come, which means newspapers should get advertisements, you should get advertisements, the papers should sell, the houses should sell, the cars should sell, the economy should start picking up again. You have any alternative idea to increase demand? Please go ahead and do it. I don't believe that I'm the economist, the only economist in the country who can create demand and give us suggestions on demand. There are plenty of, I'm sure, better ideas than Niranjan Hiranandani or Mr. Magar. But the point is, if you don't have a better idea, why don't you take this idea?
Exactly. And here actually, you said there's no downside to it. There is a downside to it. A lot of people have waited for their houses for a very long time. And we were just about reaching a stage where the houses could be delivered. Mr. Magar, I'm going to come back to you again. 10% line of credit is what the banks have said that they will give. And another 10% if your balance sheets and are good for the deserving developers. Where will that get you?
10% is not going to be enough, because what we thought was 15 days and 20 days has gone to 2 months and we don't know when the end is. So there has to be at least 25% on the basic which needs to come in. You do an escrow account mechanism. We don't want the money to be diverted out. We don't want the money to have it ourselves. You work out on an escrow mechanism, see that it moves. See, these are times when everyone, not only the developers, but the government and the financial institutions have to come on the streets and fight. They just cannot sit behind bunkers and see that nothing hits them. We are talking about rebuilding the whole country. We are talking about a new India. We are talking about emerging out of this crisis where we lead the world. If you have to do it, then we just cannot have play-safe attitudes from everyone. That one dies, the soldier dies in front and the general sits behind. No way. This is not going to help. Everyone has to be on the field, and that is what they require. So they have to infuse in liquidity. They have to do business in the nature of adventure. They just cannot say, "Arey, what will happen tomorrow? Somebody 3 years down the line, I'll be an inquiry on me. Why did I fund this so and so person? Why did I do this?" You are not funding free of cost. You are taking all the collaterals in your hand. You are tying us left, right, and center. What is the harm? There is no harm. Otherwise, how will this move? Like Mr. Hirandani said, you can walk from here to Bihar. You can go in the plane and do it faster. We will survive. Some of us will live the day. But how will this whole country's economy move when there is so much of dependence on real estate? There's so much of labor intensity. See, if real estate starts, I don't think government will have to start Manrega work and give money and do direct bank transfers to see that people are there. We will pay them, no? Because the economy will move. So the banks have to come out, because that is the starting point. That is the tip which actually will actually drive the arrow. Because if there's no liquidity, there's no point in having demand, or there is having people, because you need to pay and you need to buy and you need to work.
Right.
One thing I just want to ask that now, sir, now look, the government is the MyBaap. Now, whatever government is doing. Now we have, I do agree with your opinion 100%. But now the issue is this, that what it is today. Now, will your ongoing projects, which are not stressed, I understand about the stressed project, which are not stressed, that will also be affected, and if affected, how much? And how this entire thing is going to delay the project? Will it be implemented finally or not? Or will that also get sicker? So, can you tell something on that, sir?
People,
sorry, Mr. Bhagat, go ahead.
People have to pay the installments. They are today scared about what is their future, how their jobs will be retained. Now there are certain banks and certain HFIs, they are asking, if they have to disburse money for an ongoing project, they are asking for the validity of their salary as on today. Now you tell me, when 20 days, 2 months you are locked down, you are not gone to your office, are you going to ask your employer to give you a salary certificate that I promise to give so salary so that he can do it? No, it is not going to happen. So these projects are also going to come to the problem unless and until everyone holds hands together. We have to complete this. We have a rare obligation. We have got 6 months, 9 months, whatever we will get as a force majeure, but ultimately it has to be delivered. And why have we constructed half? Why have we invested thousands of crores into those projects? We need to complete them, and the buyer also needs to have a house to move in. So we need to, everyone has to rationalize on this, and only if that happens, we developers alone doing it is not going to help. Everyone, the financial institutions, the government, everyone has to come in together, and only then these ongoing projects which were not stressed, which were normal projects, will see the light of the day, or they will also become NPAs in no time.
I'm going to take the conversation into another direction, another serious problem of labor. The industry is very dependent on labor. You have nurtured your labor on your sites, and some places, some work has begun. How much will this lack of enough labor impact you? Mr. Hiranandani?
Jayashree, the situation is extremely serious in the sense, let me give you an example. We had 4,000 workers on our site, which we used to take care of. Today, less than 1,500 are on the sites, out of which about 900 are working today. So the rest of them have already moved out and are already planning to move out further as the trains come in. There is too much of a fear in the minds of the people as to what is the future in terms of the work position over there, because there is a fear of the virus, and I think that fear is increasing further. So there is a homing instinct of these people. We're not able to take care of them. We've taken care of them when they were there on the sites, but their fear is so high that even taking care of them has not proved adequate enough for them to stay with us and continue to work. Though about 25% of them are working with us and they do continue to work with us, but the numbers are 25% of what I had in terms of the situation that I was looking after for all these days. I don't think anybody else's number must be higher than that. Probably I have a higher number of people retention than other sights are there as far as the developers are concerned, because we are more cautious and careful in looking after them. That's what I believe, at least. Now, the question is that how long is it going to take for the economy to open out? If you don't open the trains, you think these people are going to walk back 1,000 kilometers to get work? People come back because they don't want only food to eat, because that they get anyway under Manrega and other things in their villages. What they want to do is to improve the quality of life. We are all aspirational. We move into the urban cities because we want to aspire to improve the quality of life. And it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a laborer, whether it's a middle-class person, whether it's a journalist, whether it's a person who's employed or a person who's IT. They leave their homes and towns, small villages, small places, and come to urban towns. You have to bring that confidence back. You have to do it. You don't continue this fear of the co-virus to such an extent that nobody is, what should I say? Nobody is so fearful that nobody wants to work because they're so scared of getting the coronavirus. When in reality, this coronavirus is here for us to stay unless a vaccine comes in, which I think is about 6 to 12 months away. Now, if that is the case, nobody will come to work for the next 6, 12 months if you don't change the image of saying starting the work. So I must congratulate Mr. Hardeep Puri today, the statement that from tomorrow morning, from 25th, the airlines are going to be operational, maybe 33% on day one, and then over a couple of weeks or days, we are going to open it out fully. Now, obviously, that's a very strong positive signal which has gone. I hope that the railways will also do the same thing, that you need to open the railways. At least 33% of all the trains in India should start functioning with whatever precautions that you need to do. So the economy has to roll. Only then can the workers come back. Otherwise, they're not going to come back. And if I was them, I would not come back. So why do I expect them to come back under the circumstances? So it's up to us to put the economy back on track. Yes, we must take care of safe distancing, etc., wearing masks and all that. People will accept that over a period of time. But if you put the fear, which is so enormous, and nobody's going to go back to work, that is certain. So we need to work out a compromise between the two, which is bringing the systems back into track in terms of movement of people and vehicles. And second, give them a confidence, let's go back to work. Nobody's saying that yet.
And that's important, actually. And there's another confidence building measure that you need. Your supply chains have broken. Supply chains need to be rebuilt. Cement, steel, core materials, and also a lot of materials that you sourced from overseas, whether it was fittings, fixtures, cables, a lot of things were sourced overseas. Those supply chains are also broken. How will you fix that? Because you have to create new supply chains as well.
See, these materials, most of these materials were available in India. It was not that they were not available. It was only the quality and the cost arbitrage which took us out for certain types of material. But of late, even that has gone. So the Make in India push with the existing industries, because tiles we were getting in Morbi, we had to go to China because of the cost arbitrage. But now I think more or less it is come to the same. So manufacturing of material in India may not be an issue, or rather is not an issue. The issue will be the logistics, which gradually I think has started working, and the government has to be still more proactive on this, because what has happened is we have the central government, we have the state governments, we have the ULBs, we have the police force, and we have the local force. So now everyone has become a police. So even if you are going to pass some village, they can put barricades and stop, saying that they are now caretakers of the area. That needs to come down. So like what Mr. Hindani said, that fear factor which is there in the minds of people needs to go off. And how it will go off? When we start talking positive. You tell me today, any TV channel you open, anywhere you go, you hear nothing, but so many people are infected, so many people are admitted, so much of a problem. The politicians are also finding opportunity in all this. Everyone is finding an opportunity in all this and not increasing the morale of the people. What is the recovery rate in India? Nobody talks about it. What is the mortality? See, life is precious. But what is the mortality rate in India, which is lowest everywhere from everywhere else? Nobody speaks about it. They only speak about the people who are infected. This is a pandemic, we agree. This is a life problem, we agree. This is a serious issue which we need to tackle, which we will tackle. We are human beings, we still agree. But how much to dramatize this is also a problem. And unless and until we don't stop dramatizing this whole issue, the fear factor will not go. How long are people going to stay in their houses? We are staying in comfortable houses. We don't mind staying for another 15 to 20 days. Though people are already now, bored or they are fed up of doing that. What about the people who stay in small houses? You talk of a 200 square feet house with 4 people living or 5 people living. What about them? What about people living in the slums? How can you keep them? It is like putting them into concentration camps. We need to stop this. We need to come out. We need to bring in the distancing norms, whatever norms we need to do it. But we need to come out. You cannot have people staying in concentration camps and then and dramatize the whole story and then expect the moral of the people to come up. It has to change. And I think that's very important, because unless until that happens, the whole track is not going to start moving.
In amidst all this gloom and doom, I'm going to bring something positive out here. We noticed in many of our surveys that people who earlier thought that they would stay on rent, they want to buy. A Magic Brick survey also shows that about 25% of people said they dropped out because salaries have gone, jobs have gone, at least in the short term. They will come back only after a year. But of the remaining 75%, about 30% of them want to buy now in the next three to 6 months. And another 60-70% want to buy in the next 6 to 9 months. There is demand. We need to pull that demand out of the closet and push it there in the market. Both of you spoke about how it's so important, demand generation was important. My contention is that there's a huge latent demand out there. How can you capitalize on that?
So I'll take that. My view is the same as yours. There is a huge amount of demand of people who want to buy houses. And I've always said that as far as real estate is concerned, there is a real demand for that. The only difference being that many of the sales which are taking place today are more in the nature of buildings which are close to ready or are ready. So we do get sales in terms of that. Number two, the methodology of making sales has completely changed. And that is why our own systems and people also have to get used to the idea that you will have to contact the channel partners, you will have to contact the customers through VC, through this, and continuity. In fact, what you're saying, Jayashree, is absolutely correct. Many of them are more free now and are available to actually look at apartments and flats, etc. And those who have been committed to actually deliver goods or have the branding for the purpose of good are going to get sales, and we have already started it. So the digital sales has definitely begun. You're right, Jayashree. The sales are taking place. There are many NRIs who are also taking interest because they want to come back to India. If our country looks as getting into difficulty, there are many people in the Middle East and others who are just waiting to come back to India. So there are many people in the various segments of society who want actually to buy. But we will have to also prepare ourselves to new methodologies of communication, new methodologies of marketing, and be able to do the thing digitally from A to Z. For example, let me tell you that we applied to the state government in order that we should be able to do the stamp duty payment online, which has happened. We are now asking them that you can do registrations online. They haven't done it, but they have opened the registration offices already, because people may not be able to travel to the place of the registration office. And I believe the state government is examining this suggestion, and then we will be able to do that also. So I think we will work around all these methodologies to do. What we are saying is, how do you spur demand? We are getting sales. It's not that sales are not taking place, Jayashree. But when we talk about a macro position of the entire country, it's a different ballgame. You're not talking about 40 or 50 top developers getting sales. That's happening. It's already happening, and it has started. And I believe you me, that we are seeing sales, obviously not at the level at which was before, but yes, it is there. But what we are saying is, how do you actually spur demand back again to the extent to which the demographics actually deserve it? That is the challenge. There is another angle to it, Jayashree. Let me tell you. Demand is also coming from the rental market, irrespective of what you may say. There is a huge rental demand for people because they used to stay far away from the place of work and they didn't mind commuting. Today, with the situation of COVID being what it is, they want to stay closer to their place of work. And they are definitely looking at how to shift from A place to B place. And they can't shift just now. They will take some time to be able to get the places of work. So that is also happening. So both in terms of ownership of flats and the last, if I may say, and a little humorously, I may say that with husband and wives starting to work from home, there's a clash of the bedrooms. And before the dispute ends into divorce, they want to buy a larger flat so that they each can have a separate room. At least one of them can move out of the bedroom to work in the office. So just now they may not be having as much room sufficient enough for two people to work. And if they are going to work, and if all the IT companies are going to tell all these people to work from home, the residential demand is going to spurt up beyond imagination. So everyone with one bedroom will take two, two will take three, maybe four. So let's see what this whole situation pans out.
Sir, one thing, just after the COVID, you also were in that conference when Mr. Parekh suggested that the prices may fall down. So I just want, because there is a speculation in the marketplace that prices should fall down and many buyers might be holding it back because and waiting for the prices to come down. And there is a feeling also that if the prices corrected by 15%, 20%, whatever, there could be, and that will spurt also the demand. So are you foreseeing that kind of a situation emerging?
No, I don't see that happen. Maybe there will be a few desperate people who are not the branded segments of society of the real estate business who may come into that kind of desperateness. So in desperation, anybody can do anything. But I don't see that happening in terms of the branded developers as far. Number two, remember, it's not legally possible. Section 43CA of the Income Tax Act prohibits anybody from selling it at less than 10% of the ready reckoner value. Otherwise, the penalty is 35% for buyer and 35% of the difference by the seller, which is abnormally extortionate. So we have asked for that to be reduced. So you can't reduce the price less than that. And most of them are already selling at the ready reckoner rate or even lower than that. So I don't think that is going to happen in the near future. But yes, what you say is correct, Mr. Sinha, that there will be a few desperate sellers. But remember, that could be risky. If the persons are so desperate, they may not be able to complete their projects. So there is a catch in every decision making that you need to do so that you can be sure that your product is delivered by you. But I do see, yes, the prices may not harden in the near future, but I think ready products will become expensive as less and less developers are able to complete the projects. So in reality, maybe if the situation continues in the manner it is, the prices could rise also. Remember, that is a possibility.
And moreover, what has happened in the last couple of years since demonetization and RERA, this whole industry has become a cost-plus industry. So it is not that speculative industry what it used to be. And all the facts and figures are there uploaded on the RERA, and everyone knows what the cost is. So the buyer is also clever any year after. So, like I totally agree, there's not going to be much correction in the rate except for desperate sales. But people should not buy from desperate sales because the product has to complete. So that also is a point which needs to be taken into consideration.
And real estate is not only about completion, right? Real estate is about maintenance. When giving you a quality of life even post the purchase. So if you're going to cut prices to an extent to liquidate the stock, who will manage those properties later, right?
Yeah, there are so many issues which will come with that.
Right.
So what about that 25,000 crore? Has the bank started ceding their first charge on the revenue?
Yeah, so that is big. And I believe 40 schemes are being under consideration, active consideration, and probably they were waiting for this lockdown to get unlocked. but I do not know what is the latest position. But about 4 weeks ago, when we inquired, many of the schemes, about 40 schemes were under examination. And I believe about 10, 15 schemes were already in principle approved, but they would have to complete certain requirements before any disbursements could take place. My gut feel on that, Mr. Sinha, is that before the end of the year, you will have 4 or 5 such schemes of 25,000 crores each, in order to see that more and more schemes will come under this situation of stressed assets. And I had an informal chat with the HDFC, and they are quite willing to set up another stress fund.
No, sir, but the existing lender has to seat the first charge on the revenue which is going to come. So have they agreed to do that? Because there is a problem in that, I'm told.
No, there is a problem with certain banks, and there is no problem with certain banks. So depending on case-to-case basis, this is going to happen. So I think both the conditions are required to be fulfilled if they are going to do it. But some banks are doing it, but some are not.
But they are still dragging their feet on it. It has to be much faster. It was expected to be much faster. It's still going very slow.
Why not RBI is coming out with some kind of a regulation or circular on this?
No, they've said already this 25,000 crores is there, and that is what they expected, not expecting at that point of time the COVID to come up. My view is that now you will need 1,50,000 crores, not 25,000 crores. So what the amount, because to complete the projects now, the banks, the funds required. Actually, the scheme is very good. You know what the scheme is, Mr. Sinha? It is that they will give enough fund to complete the project and not take into consideration that any installment whatsoever will come into the project. So it's a very, very well thought out scheme, and they've really thought of it in a very proactive way. And if any money does come into the project, it has to be just put back into the project. So if installments do come up, is there. So actually, it's a well thought out scheme. And I'm positive if they roll it out quickly, it will work. It is going to work. The only thing is the amount of money required now, because of the situation being what it is, would be close to 1,50,000 crores of rupees. But there are funds available which can set up. My idea is let's set up 5 competing funds so that it becomes much more better than if you have one fund who has got a monopoly.
Can I also talk about the commercial sector? I hear 2 divergent views, that there is, the commercial sector seems to be performing. There seems to be an interest in India. A lot of companies are looking at India. Do you think the commercial sector will become more robust? And what are the problems you see there?
See, in the short term, immediately in the next 15, 20 days, people are still working at home. Now, I can give you example of Pune. From yesterday, they have allowed the IT sector to open. Gradually, people have started trickling back to work. The cost arbitrage of the dollar versus the rupee, the requirement of the support services the world over post-pandemic, I think we have good times to come. Probably the rates will not be as bullish as they were. Probably, the norms will change slightly, but business will come. I mean, we have been talking to most of our multinational clients, and none of them have talked about downsizing. They are not talking about increasing now because they're evaluating the situation. But as time goes, maybe technology will be flat for some time, technology development, but all these support services should come, and they will come, is what I personally feel in days to come.
Yeah, mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, just you have muted. Yes.
Jayashree, you're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to take some of the queries that have started coming in, and if we could talk about, a recent KPMG report says that the real estate sector is estimated to have a loss of 1 trillion by the end of FY21 due to the coronavirus pandemic. How will the real estate sector cover this loss? Is it only through the money that we are expecting the government to facilitate, or will there be many other measures like speeding up the process of construction, more modular, so that you can have off-site construction and things like that? What do you see as the new trends?
The answer to your question is very simple. When will we get the virus? When will we get the vaccine? You get the vaccine tomorrow, then the whole number will fall down. If the virus continues and you don't get the vaccine and the government is not able to open out, the amount required maybe 2 trillion. So I think these guesstimates are nonsensical. Let's not get into estimation. What you need to do is take care of the present. Damn it, look after the migrants, open up the economy, give some incentive, get it started. Don't worry next 1 year what is going to happen. Look after the people today. All this needs to be done today. Give that liquidity today. Let everybody start today. I think there's too much of a futuristic thought process which is not working as far as today. If I'm dead today, what am I going to do with the money tomorrow? So let's work on it today and say, all right, you need 100 rupees today. Let you take at least 25 and start the work. So that's not happening, and we need to do that. You want to create demand, all right, don't give the full demand process today. Let's give it in phases, but give it. So I think it's more about that than worrying about 1 trillion or 5 trillion or 2 trillion and all that. I think only statisticians will bother about that figure and make good newspaper reading for Mr. Sinha to write on. But I don't think it will be useful anymore. So let's focus on the issue of how do we do the thing today and get on to it.
I totally agree, because I was just trying to calculate the number of zeros in a trillion, and I failed to understand how they could find the estimates to that.
I'll tell you another figure if you want. Statistics, Jayashree, we can throw you a lot, because in ASSOCHAM we have calculated very accurately that the daily loss of the economy in terms of the lockdown is 22,000 crores. Now you'll start asking me the breakup. I don't have it.
Right. I don't. I think the whole purpose of this today's conversation was the government was supposed to. I had hoped that at least in the last two stimulus packages there would be something that we would be able to talk about. Now there are a few and far between. There are some things. What do you think is the status of affordable housing, and will that be something that will excite the industry? Because we have talked about affordable housing, we have talked about rental housing for the migrants. These are some of the things that the government has spoken about. Does that enthuse the industry?
I think the answer is yes. Definitely it has helped. In the last 3.5 years, affordable housing has taken off. May not be in the two metropolitan cities like Delhi and Mumbai. Delhi, because already we had a recessionary trend and houses were available anyway at affordable prices if you had the guts to buy it. And in the city of Mumbai, obviously the land cost was too high for it to do it. But in the non-major metros, it has certainly come up. So yes, the affordable housing scheme has worked. The tax rebate which is available has worked. The GST factor has worked. The lending in that sector has worked. I talked to HDFC. They told us that a huge amount of lending to the people who have bought these affordable housing has taken place. I've had a chat with the housing minister at the center, and he has given statistics of lending of almost sanctions of almost 60,000 crores in the affordable housing segment. The answer is yes, but is it enough?
Mr. Magg, you have extended also the CLSS scheme for 1 year. Will that also?
Yeah, I mean, like what Mr. Himnani said, it is going to help, but is it enough? 1 year extension will not help. You need to have a larger horizon, because see, we can't, dole out in bits and pieces. We'll have to come with one comprehensive policy that for the next 2 years, this is going to be, because even construction of a house takes time. Yes, affordable housing will do good, is doing good, and has a future, because all those people who have lived in this pandemic in unregulated areas, in these slums, in illegal developments, would probably want to move to a more structured development, because security of life is much more now. But as I said, we need to have a longer extension of this, because unless and until we give them the bait to come and buy, we give them the break or the incentive to come and buy, it is still going to take some time. So we need to do much more in this.
Right. what about contractors? While the developers are facing problems, I think somebody has asked here. Also, people, especially contractors, have said that constructed various places not started. There's a monsoon between now and completion. Are you facing a challenge with getting your contractors getting back to work?
Contractors are dependent on labor. If the laborers are not there, what will the contractors do? But yes, the mobility has started. I mean, people have started coming back. The only fear factor they have, one is life, and secondly, whether the developer can continue developing without the liquidity infusion. That is also a point which they have in their minds. I think probably if the money was given out, if people had started work before, we wouldn't have this migrant problem which you see with so much of an extent across the country.
We've got a question from Facebook. Somebody has asked, the government has given an extension of 6 months to RERA timelines. How long are the projects likely to get delayed? And will the buyers have to wait a little longer for their homes?
So we had estimated it to be 6 months on the basis of discussions that we have had with most of the people. But this migratory labor issue is a new one, which is actually compounding the situation. So I think dependent on the migratory labor coming back, this time may require to be extended. So, but as of now, we think 6 months is sufficient enough if we can get it back. But really, a reassessment may happen maybe by July end or so, and then we would probably know what the real timeline looks like in terms of extension of time. But you know, what Mr. Magar said is more important. You know, there are so many other inconsistencies in the entire system. Is the demand going to come back? Is the liquidity going to be there? Those are equally important questions. So how does this really figure out? Only time will tell. But I think in another 60 days, we will have answers to most of these questions. And if economy comes back, confidence comes back, this fear factor is mitigated. I'm not saying eliminated, it won't eliminate. But you can certainly mitigate this fear factor. I'm sure we'll put the things back into track. But you have to do all those in order to put it on track.
Somebody's also asked, how is digital sales happening? Can buyers visit the sites digitally through some online medium? This is something that I'm hearing from buyers again and again. We would like to continue the process of search, but what should we do, and how are the developer communities catering to this? You want to talk about the marketing, the new era of marketing?
Yeah, see, digital three-dimensional views are being created online. Walkthroughs are being created. The actual site streaming is being done. So all this has started happening in the last. It was there, but not to that much of an extent, which in the last 1 month has propelled. Once people are allowed to come out and be more free to move, I think more of that will come. But yes, where now video calls or web calls are going on, the three-dimensional views are being shown, the walkthroughs are being shown to people. So you get a virtual feeling of what it is. But ultimately, before people will buy, but still at some time they would want to come and see the environment around. They would want to come and see the product which they're going to live in, because this is a long-term project. It's not a commodity. It's an emotional product. So people would want to see what it is, how you walk in, how you come and all that. So 100% digitalization may not happen, but it has become a sales enabler to a large extent in these times.
How soon that is going to happen, sir? That people will start coming to the site, because people are also very apprehensive of this COVID.
People, I think once the lockdown is gone and when you start allow people to actually come on and move out, people will gradually start coming out, because change of environment is required by everybody. Staying in those four walls for 60 days is actually a pain. I think people will have to come out now. And they will come. Because
the people are already started buying on digitally. So it's not that it is not happening, it's already started. Of course, the numbers are smaller than before. I mean, obviously the overall numbers are not compensating for those which happened earlier. But the fact is that it has started is a fact. But we are also not as savvy in this subject up till now. So we are also learning what works and what doesn't work. So the digital platform is getting, what should I say, more professional, and people are learning through the process of actually working onto it.
It's getting evolved now. I mean, we are in that process of evolution now.
And we'd love to evolve with you.
Here comes the business.
There comes the business. So just one, I like what Ramesh Menon has asked. He says, how important a role will REITs play in medium term? What's your view about REITs versus real estate funds? Now, I would like to take this question to one more step. Clearly, if you wait for governments and banks to keep giving you funds or moratoriums or assist you, that seems to be very slow, and you are dependent on a lot of other factors. What are the alternate means of funding that can evolve, and do you think that it will?
See, the REIT is a much easier factor for people to get funds into, because it means that you have already got rental assets which are then put into a REIT. So that's an easier thing to fund for a system. So that is definitely going to continue, and it will grow exponentially, because the international world of investment is looking at REITs as an opportunity. As far as the other real estate investment in terms of we are talking about is a more challenging factor, because that they will have to judge as to what is their future in India of real estate. Should we come into it or not? Should we put in additional funds? What is the expectations in the near future? So I think people are waiting and watching, because the opportunity in the rest of the world has disappeared. Barring America, which is really still strong, the rest of the world doesn't have too much opportunity. So I think India is still the land of opportunity, but people may wait and watch for some months till they find out how we are opening up the economy, both in terms of real estate and otherwise. And then only we'll be getting the other funds to actually invest. Though a lot of people are talking to a lot of people, I don't think the actual rollout will take place until some time will take place. But the answer to you, Jayashree, is yes, there are people who are interested, and there is a lot of opportunity in India, and it will continue to grow, is my expectation. So I'm very sure this is going to happen. But look at it. It means, again, that things will go out of the hands of Indians and be more FDI oriented. So is that what we are thinking about? Or are we going to save our real estate entrepreneurs today and help them to resuscitate themselves? Or do you want it to be all sold out to foreigners? That's another. Yeah.
Will REIT for residential sector also come?
Yes, but it is not as aggressive in the world. So if you look at the residential REIT worldwide, it's hardly 5% or 10% of the total REITs which are there. It's much more commercial, retail, and different other products are also there. Even
logistics and warehousing is a very strong.
Yeah, warehousing, industrial, all these things are also there worldwide. Residential has not been such a high component of the REITs market as yet.
Yeah, I totally just one comment I would want to make in this is that I really support what Mr. Niranjan said is about whether you want to keep the business with us or you give it to the others, because they will come with huge amount of money, deep pockets, but we will keep 8 lakh crores in RBI at 3.5%. That doesn't work.
Yes, everybody has to get their hands dirty and be out on the street to, like Mr. Magar said. And this is where I'm going to wrap up this session. I think it was a very, very interesting session. I hear both of you gentlemen saying that finance is the big problem, and both banks and the government has to now move aggressively forward, because this is an industry worth saving. 6 to 7% of the GDP is big. And if you want all those jobs and you want all that money coming into our economy with multiple industries dependent on it, you have to take the risk. And the second thing is that the labor issue is going to play out. The labor will only come in when you have the confidence to open up the economy, get economic activity restarted. How soon you can do that will determine how soon the labor starts getting the confidence to come back to the places of work. And a lot of things depend on everything else, as I hear from you, is something that you can take in your stride. If you have the money and you have the labor, I think what you're saying is that the industry has the confidence to move forward. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think this is only the first of the many discussions. I do think that we will expect the government and the banking sector to support this industry a little more, because it is a huge economic indicator industry. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
deserves
Thank you
also.
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a
Mr.
lot.
Magar.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank you, sir.
thanks.
Thanks. Namaste.
Okay.